So, a while back when Quentin I Have a Chin Tarantino was working on The Hateful Eight, he expressed that all of his movies are tied together in some form, much to the delight of people like me who obsess over his movies. It was such a revelation that it almost made me take off my conspiracy tin hat, but then I decided against it because the NSA would be able to read my mind with household microwaves. He expressed that there are two universes within his movies, the real universe and the movie universe. In his own words, when all of the characters of Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, when they go to the movies, Kill Bill is what they go to see. So today I'm going to try and show how some of the characters in the films are bound by blood or linked in some way, and discuss how I think their relationships explain their roles in the Tarantino universes. Liberties might be taken, but that's all part of the fun. With this in mind, I'm Jules for Whatculture.com, here with a list of 12 Quentin Tarantino characters you didn't know were related. Number 12. Jimmy and Lawrence Dimmick. Harvey Keitel's second coolest character in the Tarantino-verse reveals to the dying Mr. Orange that his real name is Lawrence Dimmick. That ties him to Jimmy Dimmick, Jules' former partner in Pulp Fiction, whose house becomes the site of the cleanup of Marvin's brains, much to his annoyance. The pair are likely brothers, both pushed into a life of crime by their upbringing, and while Mr. White feels like an archetypal loner, Jimmy definitely comes with some baggage. Number 11. Paula and Dr. King Schultz. Hired killer King Schultz moved to America from his wealthy family life in Germany, practicing dentistry until 1853 before switching professions to bounty hunting, like you do, until his death 6 years later. According to one theory, at some point in the 1840s or 50s, he married a younger woman who subsequently left him, and outlived him by more than 35 years. The proof of that comes in Kill Bill 2, in which the bride is buried in the grave of his supposed wife, Paula Schultz, who died alone and was buried in a lonely grave. Number 10. Vincent and Victor Vega. You think that two black-suited henchmen, one a torturer and triggerman and the other a hitman, had difficult upbringings that made their lives of crime inevitable, but they actually grew up in a wealthy household with a strict father and a doting mother who spoiled them. So maybe the criminal gene skips a generation. Like the Dimmicks, they're very different brothers. Vincent is far more chilled, while Vic has what you'd call several screws loose and gets his kicks from inflicting pain. Tarantino originally planned to make a spin-off starring the two, which has to rank among one of his most frustrating dropped projects. Number 9. Jack and Seymour Scagnetti. Just as the Vegas and the Dimmicks followed each other into a life of crime, the Scagnettis were both drawn to the other side of the coin, and Detective Jack Scagnetti turns up in Natural Born Killers, played by Tom Sizemore. His assumed brother Seymour, meanwhile, became a parole officer, and was assigned to Mr. Blonde on his release from prison. Like his brother Jack, who is a two-faced douchebag by all accounts, Seymour is proclaimed to be a f***ing asshole, so there's definitely a family resemblance. Number 8. Crazy Craig and Captain Coons. Though the older of these two isn't actually seen on screen in Django Unchained, Tarantino included a reference to Pulp Fiction in Django in the shape of Crazy Craig Coons. His name appears on a wanted poster proclaiming him to be part of the Smitty Backall gang. Meanwhile, his great and possibly great again grandson went to war, met a man named Coolidge, and put a watch up his bum. Number 7. Gerald and Marvin Nash. Officially, this link has never been confirmed by Tarantino, but his scripts rarely include accidental coincidences. Going back to the earliest point of the Nash timeline, Gerald Nash was another member of the Smitty Backall gang, wanted for murder in Django Unchained. He's never seen on screen, but he obviously lived a full enough life to have kids. In Natural Born Killers, a dramatic reconstruction shows patrolman Gerald Nash gunned down by the Knoxes, and then his supposed cousin Marvin Nash ends up the victim of Mr. Blonde's torture in Reservoir Dogs. Talk about a family of victims. Number 6. Mia Wallace is the bride in Kill Bill. In this example, rather than Mia Wallace watching Kill Bill, the film is said to be a movie version of Fox Force 5, the failed TV pilot that Mia starred in. As proof, Mia's character is referred to as the deadliest woman in the world with a knife. So, could the fact that they look so similar be down to the fact it's actually Mia Wallace playing the bride? If so, that's pretty mind-boggling. Number 5. Alabama was Mr. White's former partner. Starting out as a cool girl, Alabama from True Romance married her new love Clarence, teamed up with him to kill her pimp, stole coke from the mob, and eventually disappeared into the Mexican sunset to have a baby. In Reservoir Dogs, Mr. White mentions Alabama was his former partner, which on its own doesn't make much sense, as that would imply that Clarence is dead, leaving her to work with White. This is possibly a reference, however, to the fact that in the original True Romance script, Clarence was meant to bite the big one. Number 4. The Racist Maynards. Though the rifle-wielding, hat-wearing Candyland employee isn't actually named, he does tellingly yell, "Ain't no, not gonna say that word, gonna kill Maynard," before he is inevitably gunned down with bullets made of solid irony. That name, of course, ties him to another racist in the Tarantino universe, who also likes to point guns at people. Maynard, the owner of the pawn shop in Pulp Fiction. Number 3. Donnie and Lee Donowitz. The Bear Jew in Tarantino's bloody war epic Inglourious Bastards is of course named Donnie Donowitz, which sounds like a very Stan Lee name if you ask me. In the alternative timeline that springs up from this new ending to the war, his son Lee grows up without a father but rises to the top of Hollywood's power ladder on the back of his heroism, making the film Coming Home in a Body Bag in reference for his fallen father. Number 2. Jules and Rufus. Rather than being related, it's said that Rufus, the nomadic piano player who appears at the bride's wedding in Kill Bill 2, is Jules. After all, Jules chose the life of a drifter after he was touched by God, which if you replace God with Uncle Tom, is my life story. Obviously this would contradict Tarantino's twin universe theory, but he has admitted that some characters are the exception to his rules and a nomadic character like Jules/Rufus Jufus would fit the bill. And number 1, English Pete and Archie Hickox. The most recent addition to the shared Tarantino Universe family comes in the shape of English Pete Hickox, the alter ego of supposed hangman Oswaldo Mowbray, who's an outlaw member of Jodie Domergue's band of villains. The revelation of his name suggests immediately that he's a distant ancestor to Archie Hickox, the similarly duplicitous Englishman sent to help kill Hitler in the Inglourious Bastards. Eli Roth confirmed this link isn't exactly set in stone, but it just adds to the fun. And that's our list. Got any other connections I've missed? Well, let me know about them here in the comments or on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. As always, if you enjoyed the video, then like, share, and subscribe for more. I've been Jules for Whatculture.com, and I'll speak to you soon.